So I had the opportunity to see Transformers 1 early this week, and it was way better than I was expecting. Let's talk about it. Now look, if you saw the trailers for this movie, you probably thought the same thing as me. This looks atrociously bad. And I thought the same as that thing until I saw this movie, and then reactions started coming out, and it sounded like this movie was actually going to be a phenomenal and at least decently good Transformers movie, which we have not gotten one of those in a very long time. So I saw it, and coming out of it with my super low expectations, I was super satisfied and surprised with what we did get from this film. Now, is it the best film of the year? Is it even the best Transformers movie of all time? No, I do not think so. I don't think it reaches that bar of the first Michael Bay Transformers film, but it's still on its own a very phenomenal film. Especially, as I said, after that trailer when I had just abysmal expectations for this movie. I felt like this movie wasn't needed, and then for them to, after I see this, surprise me wholeheartedly, making this in my top 15 of the year is impeccable. Like, that is not what I expected from this at all. I also feel like this movie, with its animation style and story overall, is kind of the Spider-Verse-esque movie for the Transformers franchise, something I feel like they've needed for a bit. Look, this franchise has not had the best going for a decently long amount of time. And I think they needed this movie more than ever to kind of bring this franchise back. Rise of the Beast wasn't as big of a success as I think they were thinking it was going to be. And I think this did bring this franchise back, especially to a whole new generation of kids. Like, I had kids in my early screening with their parents, and they enjoyed it. They probably have never seen a Transformers movie, show, even know. They might not even know, like, who the Transformers are. And for them to come out of it being like, I enjoyed my time with this, I laughed. As a little kid, I would be like, Dad, what are these other movies? Because you've told me about them. It's like, I would be like that. Like, I think this is a great introduction for children to this franchise. Another thing I was worried about with this movie was the voice actors. You had big names like Keegan-Michael Key, John Hamm, Brian Tyree Henry, Scarlett Johansson, just like a bunch of people that do not sound like voice actors, especially at criticize Scarlett Johansson. Like, I don't think that's what you think of when you think of Transformers voice actor. Like, that does not make sense to me. And coming out of it, I did not notice them kind of just being themselves. Like, I actually felt like Chris Hemsworth wasn't just talking into a microphone and showing various emotions as Optimus Prime. I feel like he was actually, like, in a weird way, a younger version of Optimus Prime. And I think he's able to nail that character greatly. I thought Keegan-Michael Key was going to be very annoying as, like, younger Bumblebee, and he wasn't, surprisingly. I think it was actually one of the saving graces for jokes in this movie. He is insanely funny. He has this running bit, and I think that's just great. I'll go more over that when I get to the spoiler segment, but I think his running bit is great in this movie. I think overall the cast isn't just playing themselves, which I appreciate a ton, because I know we've kind of gotten into this era where we're drafting and casting these celebrities into voice actor roles and them just basically using it as a paycheck for themselves and not really committing to these characters. And I think they were able to. I think everyone in this movie showed commitment, showed they actually kind of knew what the characters are trying to do. And I don't think a lot of these celebrity actors that are doing that currently, that are taking these voice acting roles, are committing to actually, like, infusing what has made a character what it is into their role. I think I'm very appreciative they actually committed to showing who these characters truly are, because they are storied and historic characters throughout all of film, comic, TV show, game history in general. And honestly, I know it's a really stupid thing to say, but this movie is just a fun time. And I know people are like, a fun time? No one wants to hear a fun time. You're just saying a movie's fun. In this manner, I think a fun time kind of works. I think that's all I wanted. I was not expecting some Scorsese, Spielberg masterpiece. I just wanted something that was going to make me laugh, something that was going to, be fun for me and my friend who went to this early screening. And it was that, and that's exactly what I got. Because keep in mind, my expectations were extremely low, as I said earlier. I was expecting this to be torrentially bad. No offense to Paramount or the team that worked on this. This trailer made it look terrible, and the first 5 minutes of this movie kind of had me worried, and then it changed, but that's fine. It's a fun time, and that's really all I wanted from this. I did not need something insane here. I did not need a reinventing of the Transformers wheel. Even though it kind of does do that, I didn't need that. I just needed something fun, and even though it was like a popcorn movie, I wouldn't have been mad. And I think it exceeded those expectations, but this definitely is still like a fun time as a movie, I think, personally. But now let's go into the cons of this movie. This movie is not perfect. I think the design of the Transformers for this movie is definitely a little weird. I feel like if you go to Universal Studios, how they have walk around Transformers characters, you can tell there's someone in there. it feels like they put a human like walk around character as the Transformers. I think that really I don't know. They just did not feel like Transformers to me. They felt like humans caused the Transformers. That's what it felt like. And it kind of turned me off a little bit. And I think I got as the movie went on, I was like more and more okay with it, but I still like walking out was like, I don't know how, especially at the start, like they do not look at all like a Transformer. And I think that eventually it does change and they do look better, but I don't think even when it does, like they do change and get their like cogs so they can become Transformers, I don't think that they'd still look like a Transformer, like if that makes sense. And I know earlier I was talking about how funny this movie is, and I think it still is a funny movie, but it is a kids movie. Again, this is not my targeted comedy, and not every joke is gonna land. About 40% of the jokes don't land, and I think that's just because it's a kids movie. Like, I'm not gonna laugh at stupid jokes. Like, even though I know it's not for me, I could tell it. Yeah, I could tell this is a kids movie. And if you're mad about the comedy, not all of it hitting, it's not gonna hit. It's a kids movie. Like, keep that in mind. I think it did work for me though. I think a lot of the comedy did, as I said earlier. Just some of it was just kind of cringeworthy. I know it wasn't meant for me, so I kind of understood it. Also, characters in this movie kind of just do seem out of character at points, like when they shouldn't be. Characters should not be making some decisions in this movie that they do. They clearly just look ignorant and dumb. And again, it's a kids movie. I understand that. That's why I'm not docking it a ton of points for it. Like, some of these are just outright just insanely stupid. And I don't understand how they came to these decisions. Like, how I was just like, ooh, I just can't do this anymore. Gotta change the whole way we were gonna fix this. Like, that makes no sense to me. And I understand they have to do it because that's how the Transformers story goes. I'll get into it more in spoilers later on, but it just doesn't make sense to me. And lastly, for our non-spoiler con, Orion Pax or Optimus Prime, he's called both in this film. He doesn't really have a character arc, and I think that kind of left his character feeling a bit shallow, bit empty overall, which does suck a ton because I think Hemsworth did a great job, as I said earlier, with his voice acting. It just feels like he's the same character throughout, and then what happens and how his friend is affected and how everyone around him is affected by his actions. He doesn't truly take accountability. He kind of just meanders around and kind of just does the same stuff over and over again. And I think eventually he comes to an understanding of what he was doing was wrong. But I still, even after that happens, I don't feel like he makes a true change. So now we're going to go over some spoilers for this movie. So if you've not seen Transformers 1 yet, skip this part. Come back to it after you've seen it. Just at the end of the video, I chaptered it so you can just skip this part. And yeah, let's get into spoilers. Story-wise, now that I can fully talk about it without the embargo, since I can post it this time. The story does start off a bit rough. I think that him exploring the archives to be like, I want to be a hero. Ooh. Me, Optimus Prime, I'm the man and I want to save everyone. It makes him feel selfish. And I feel like he keeps his selfishness throughout the entire movie. As I said earlier, his character doesn't change. I feel like he stays selfish and self-absorbed and ignorant just about the whole world around him. And that doesn't change until the very end when, of course, he basically sacrifices himself to save Sentinel Prime. When Optimus sacrifices himself to save Sentinel Prime, which honestly doesn't add up to anything because Megatron decides to kill him anyways. So it doesn't matter. I think that's his moment where we're supposed to see his change. It just feels like he was trying to protect Megatron more than trying to change as a person and see how wrong he was. And also I just feel like that sacrifice makes him Optimus Prime, not Orion Pax anymore. He's now Optimus Prime. I don't know if that's the way I would go about it personally. Again, I'm not a big part of the Transformers fandom, so this could be exactly what happens. But I'm not very involved in this fandom, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But I feel like him being given the Matrix and becoming the leader of leaders for the planet, I forget what it's called, I'm so sorry, the Transformers planet, I feel like is misearned. And I feel like he needed to work more or show some sort of change at all. I feel like he didn't show change, and it sucks. We're gonna get some jokes now. Badass and B127 is so me core. Like, oh my god. I feel like I was watching myself on screen, which I know is fully off topic for a review. But I just think he saved this movie, and I think I came into this thinking Keegan-Michael Key, as he sometimes is in his roles, is a bit annoying. I thought that was going to be the case with this. I thought it was just going to be throwing cringe-worthy lines, which there is a few. I thought that was going to happen, and he actually was a very solid throughout, which I was very excited for. And again, story, like, Sentinel Prime is basically a bad guy. He is the big bad. He made a deal with the bad guys. Again, I'm forgetting their name. Not on the Transformers fandom. I'm so sorry. He makes a deal with them basically to become the ruler of all the Transformers and bots in general. It's a kid's plot, and I can't get mad about that. It's very much so, oh, the villain is the good guy. Whoa. Like, it can be expected that he was going to be the bad guy, so I can't really get mad about it. But I just wish there was a more creative plot for this movie, because I feel like, I understand we have to follow a certain beat of like what has to happen, because Megatron and Optimus Prime do have to become rivals. They do have to fight each other, from brothers to enemies, basically. It does have to happen, because that's what Transformers is built on currently, from the Bay movies and from probably its own original fandom. It has to happen. So I think that heavily limited what they were able to do with this movie, and I think that does suck. And then I think also just one of the stupidest things is that over and over again, and I know this is a very small nitpick, because I don't have a lot of nitpick with this movie, so that's a very good thing. But throughout this movie, Orion Pax is just like, or Hemsworth's character, if that makes it easier for you guys, it's just like, does a stupid thing, insanely stupid thing, and knows he's not supposed to do it, and then is like, hey, I did this, it's my fault, do not punish these other people, and then they decide to punish them anyways. They're trying to show that he's screwed up and that he's becoming a better person and admitting to his issues and his faults, but it just comes off as him trying to show off in this movie. And I don't know if that was the intention. If it was, that's a weird thing to go down. But the fact that you can't use his selfless acts of him admitting it was his fault and then just throw them away, because it just looks like he's being a jackass to everyone else around him. Which, again, that could fully be the intention. I just didn't think that was personally the intention. I think they were trying to show he understands his fault. He understands what he's done wrong. I didn't get that from, especially early on in the movie. I didn't understand that. I didn't feel like that was the intention. I feel like it was more over, they were just trying to be like, oh yeah, he's a really great guy and he's really pulling it together. But I don't think that truly does work. I think that's what they were going for. I don't think that fully is shown in this movie. But overall, Transformers 1 was way better than I was expecting. After those trailers that looked just wholly abysmal, they really did turn it around, and I'm very surprised by it. I can admit when I'm wrong and say this is, as of right now, the best animated movie of the year. We still do have a few more left, like Flo and The Wild Robot are the last two big ones, I do believe, and Moana 2. I forgot about that one. But as of right now, it is my favorite animated movie of the year so far, and it's also my top 15 films of the year so far out of, I believe, 39. So I know it's up there. Solid low 8 out of 10 for me as of right now. That could change as the year goes on. I don't know. I do like changing my ratings a lot, but as of right now, it's a low 8 out of 10. With this score, it does put it above The Fall Guy, Monkey Man, Civil War, Rickeyson, Roadhouse, some lower end movies, just because it is like a lower 8 out of 10. But also does put it ahead of Inside Out 2, which was, before this happened, was my favorite animated movie of the year so far. So it has taken the throne. But if you've seen Transformers 1 or you're planning on seeing it, what are your thoughts on the movie? What are your expectations? Were you happy with it? Were you just overall depressed by it? I know some people are. Let me know in the comments. I would really appreciate it. And if you did enjoy this video, like and subscribe. It feels weird to say that because I don't usually post on YouTube. But yes, please do. I'm trying to grow this channel because TikTok is probably going away. I really hope you guys did enjoy the video. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys later.